Good morning. It is October 7th, 2020. My name is Sean. I am 50 years old. I turned 50 in May of 2020. I am exactly 2 weeks out from an ALIF procedure, which is an Anterior Lumbar Interbody Fusion that will be performed on my L5-S1 disc. This has kind of been in the works for me for definitely a year, but it's been several years since my exacerbating injury. In the course of my research, looking into having this performed, I did a lot of YouTube searches and struggled to find a lot of good testimonials out there of individuals who had gone through the exact same thing that I am about to go through. So I thought I would put my journey down on video and share it with the rest of you in hopes that it might be helpful. I'm a physician assistant. I've been a physician assistant for 20 years. My story, frankly, isn't all that atypical. I got married in 2001, bought a house within a couple of years, got a couple of kids. My son is 16, my daughter's 13. Around the time that my second child was born, became quite sedentary, put on pretty typical amount of weight, I think, for someone my age and my situation. I'm basically about 190, 200 pound guy. Around 2007, I had ballooned up to a little over 250, 255 pounds. Then I had my aha moment, as I like to call it, July 4th, 2007, after having several days of intermittent nausea, squeezing, crushing chest pain, dizzy spells. I finally went to the emergency department because I was quite convinced I was having a heart attack. As it turns out, it wasn't. I was having some esophageal spasms from bad reflux and probably some associated anxiety, which is the good news. But it was my wake-up call. For the next couple of years, I went on a weight loss and fitness journey. I really spent 7 years probably becoming the fittest I had ever been throughout my life. In 2012 and 2013, after dropping about 50 to 60 pounds, I became engulfed in the triathlon community around here. I had done probably 6 or 7 triathlons, including 3 long distance ones, what I would consider half Ironman or 70.3 triathlons. Did several other road races, a lot of half marathons. I'd gotten down to about 194, 195 pounds on a regular basis. I was looking to add some variety and some strength and some power, which I felt I was lacking with my triathlon training. Around that time, 2012-ish, CrossFit was popping up. A lot of boxes were popping up in our area, so I decided to check it out. Ended up joining at the end of one triathlon season. I fell in love with the community, loved the variety I was getting, loved that I really didn't have to do a lot of planning to get in my workouts, plan my runs, plan my cycling, plan my swims, find pool time. So I sort of gave up on triathlons and really got myself embedded in the CrossFit community for a couple of years. One day, about 18 months into my CrossFit journey, in April of 2014, like any other day, the WOD of the day was to figure out your 1 rep max on a deadlift. We did the typical warm-up. I stretched out great, felt great. Did about 10 to 12 warm-up lifts, working my weight up, and literally put on a 2.5 pound weight on each side of the barbell, making it my new 1 rep max. Uh, went to do the lift, and by the time I got the weight to my knees, I felt my entire low back shift, audibly heard a snap, crackle, pop, dropped the weight, excruciating pain in my left low back, and just kind of crumbled to the floor. I was there for a good 20 or 30 minutes. I recall really not getting off the couch for several days to a week afterwards. Ended up getting into physical therapy, but essentially that was what I would call the beginning of my 6-year decline and my 6-year attempt at recovery to get my life back. I'd spent probably over that 6 years thousands of dollars in co-pays with physical therapy. I've done inversion table therapy, massage therapy. I've had dry needling done probably 40 or 50 times. Various yoga, hot yoga. About a year and a half ago, saw a physiatrist after an MRI revealed that my L5-S1 disc was quite degenerated, had a large tear in it, was starting to collapse. The nucleus pulposus, that gel center, was essentially gone, so it really wasn't spongy anymore. We assumed that's where all my pain was coming from, so he suggested I at least try a PRP injection, which I did in, I believe it was either February or March of 2019. Did some physical therapy after that. Wasn't convinced it was helpful, but I found myself being able to engage in some household chores, mostly pain-free. Was kind of on cruise control for about 6 to 8 months, and then started to have the same recurring severe daily low back pain. Late fall 2019. Ended up having a second MRI and meeting with a neurosurgeon. Neurosurgeon said the MRI really hadn't changed all that much from my previous one, and that he really thought the L5-S1 disc was the issue. But he said he wouldn't do surgery yet at this time, and suggested I have what they would call a radio frequency ablation. So through my physiatrist this past February, I had bilateral 3-level ablations, which provided me with about maybe 6 to 8 weeks of decent relief. Then COVID-19 hit. It was tough to get into physical therapy, although my physical therapist was outstanding. My physiatrist was outstanding. Everybody along this 6-year journey has been fantastic. I was never really able to get back to any form of exercise after my injury. I do want to point out, though, that at no point during these 6 years did I ever have any leg symptoms. No sciatica, no numbness or tingling, no pain going down my leg, no weakness. It was always just across my low back. Some days more on the left, some days more on the right. Some days the spasms would be so bad after just bending over to put something in the dishwasher that I wouldn't be able to get out of bed the next day. Surgery, I think, really became a real option when I woke up on Memorial Day of 2020, realizing that I was my heaviest weight I could recall in over a decade. I was about 252 pounds. We're starting to use oxycodone and muscle relaxants probably twice per week, when before it might have been twice per month, and that was only if I had exerted myself too much. I had really given up everything in my life in 2020, aside from working, which at times, especially recently over the summer, had become a struggle. I gave up coaching baseball. I gave up coaching softball, basketball. I gave up hunting, fishing, hikes, you name it. Had I tried any of those things, I knew I was going to pay for it. It was going to make me miss work, not be able to provide a paycheck for my family, pay my bills. So at some point over the summer, I just shut it all down and said, I just need to get to work and figure out a way to bridge the gap to get the surgery performed. I met with my neurosurgeon again the last week of July. He had said that he was about 95% sure that my L5-S1 disc was the issue and that this ALIF procedure would be the procedure of choice. But he wanted me to jump through one more hoop, which I was perfectly fine to do. He asked my physiatrist to do a discography. This is where they inject a little bit of dye into a couple of the lumbar discs, including the one that they feel like is the issue. So for me, that was the L5-S1 disc, to figure out which one, if any of them, recreated the pain that I had been experiencing over the years. So I had that performed about 3 weeks ago. 100% nailed it. They injected a few discs. As soon as they injected that dye into my L5-S1 discs, which was done randomly, I had no idea which disc that they were injecting. My back pain lit up within moments, within seconds. Went from a 0 to a 6 or 7 out of 10. So with that information, the following week had my third MRI in about 18 months. Met with my neurosurgeon about a week and a half ago, and he offered me the ALIF procedure. That's scheduled for October 21st. Other things I wanted to mention, obviously when you give up everything in your life, it's depressing. Add on to that COVID, the shutdown, working in healthcare, seeing what I see, being on the front lines. No doubt, because I didn't want to ramp up my prescription medication usage, I definitely started having probably 1 to 2 mixed drinks per night, probably 5 to 6 nights per week. This was on top of the 2 to 3 maximum doses of ibuprofen I was taking every day for months and months on end, as well as 2 extra strength Tylenol 2 or 3 times per day. The depression part of this is incredibly real. I never would have realized it before. Pain is mentally debilitating. I think that's been as big a struggle as suffering with the pain itself and giving up everything that I've had to give up in my life. There's been no vacations for my family. I'm fearful of petting my dog. I'm fearful of mowing the lawn, of loading the dishwasher, of pushing the vacuum. There are days I can't dress myself. It's difficult to sit for more than 10 minutes without becoming uncomfortable. It's difficult to stand more than 10 or 15 minutes without becoming uncomfortable. Really, the only time I'm pain-free is when I'm lying flat in bed and there's no pressure of the upper half of my body pushing down onto my lower half. I'm ready. I have no fear for this surgery anymore. The only thing that I fear now is not having the surgery because of the place where I'm at. There's nothing left for me to do. I hope that I have the opportunity and the willpower to be able to continue to post these videos so you can get a better understanding of what it's like to go through this very specific procedure. I hope I can give you some insight into the recovery process, the personal things I go through, the professional things I go through. I hope to perhaps continue this for 9 to 12 months. I have no idea how much or how frequently I'm going to record. I may not make another video until I'm home after the surgery. I may make one while in the hospital. I may make one a couple of days before. But I have met with my vascular surgeon a couple of days ago that they're going to do a retroperitoneal approach with a midline incision. In 2 days, I'm meeting with my neurosurgeon for the last time. I have my pre-op appointments next week. I've already had my pre-op labs drawn, and frankly, I already have my post-op surgery appointments scheduled. So if you do subscribe, thank you. I hope this is insightful and is helpful to you, and I appreciate you following on with my journey.